Hey everybody, wake up. This is Wake Up with Mark Joyner, episode number 113. Today I will ask the question, is the notion of knowing your limits bullshit? All right, everybody tells you that. You better know your limits. Don't push yourself too far. Don't go too hard. Sometimes this is wise advice. It sounds like wise advice. But here's the problem. How are you going to grow if you don't push past your limits? Think about that. Think about that. Now, there are times when it's obvious that you need to be sensible, right? For me, I know if I'm doing some MMA stuff and somebody is cranking my shoulder back a little too hard, and it's starting to hurt, probably wise for me to tap, right? So my arm doesn't get broken, my shoulder doesn't get yanked out of its socket while we're doing that. At the same time, sometimes when you push yourself a little farther than you think you can normally go, you injure yourself, but you come back a little bit stronger. In fact, every time that you build muscle, the way that muscle tissue adapts is that we create micro tears in the muscle, so far as we know. I don't think we completely understand these mechanisms, probably not even by a long shot. But one notion that we have about that is that we create these micro tears. The muscle then rebuilds itself, and then when it rebuilds itself, it is adapted to be stronger. Now, another thing that we have to consider here is it even possible for us to know what our limits are? And are we able to push ourselves past our perceived limits if we only shift our thinking? There are well-documented cases, of course, of women who have saved their children when their children are under duress, or about to be, let's say they're underneath a burning car that is about to explode. There are women who have come up and lifted an entire car so that they could pull their child out from under that car. These are documented examples of people performing at what we commonly think is a superhuman level of performance. So my question to you is, if that person had done it under different circumstances, would she have pulled a muscle? Would she have hurt herself? Think about it, right? If a woman says, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to lift a car, and, we know that she might pull her back while she does it, we might tell her, well, you better know your limits. You better be sensible about that. How does this spectrum work? Where does our physical limitation end and our mental limitation begin? I don't think we have actually thoroughly explored this in any way. I don't think we're even close to understanding it. But what I believe is that we are probably capable of way, way more than most of us think is possible. I am personally constantly trying to push those limits. I want to see just how far I can go. I want to find out, hey, I'm 50 years old now. Can I stay young and healthy at 100 years, at 120 years? Maybe through some combination of controlling my body with my mind, which is something I am thoroughly convinced now we can all do to a greater or lesser degree. It's just that all of us have different levels of mastery of it. And a combination of that and technology, who knows what's possible? Who knows what is possible? So be sensible about your limits, but also push them. You have to push past them, but be aware, if you push yourself past your limits and you do create those micro tears, be they in your muscle or in your mind or wherever they are, wherever that stress has accumulated, you need to, in the same flow that the Taoists talk about with the yin and the yang of the universe, you need to go back in and, after being stimulated too much in your sympathetic nervous system, you need to stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system so you can recover. My trainer and I, well, I say trainer, we're training each other, kind of we're training slash partners slash whatever we want to call what we're doing. We are constantly pushing each other, further and further. if he sees me do something, that's a little bit harder than he was able to do, which is rare because he's a lot stronger than I am. He will want to push himself. And the same thing, if I see him, performing at a higher level, sometimes, I can do something. Let's say if I could do 20 reps and he goes out and he does 40, well, suddenly my mind has changed. Maybe now I can do 30 or 35. How much of that limitation in the beginning was due to my mind having a set point that I established for myself? And how far can we push ourselves physically by just simply flipping that switch and changing that set point in our minds? I am deeply, deeply curious about that. I am deeply concerned also that we are not exploring these limitations enough as a species. The placebo effect is one of the most widely established, widely studied, widely observed phenomena in science. But instead of figuring out how can we tap deeper into the placebo effect so that the body can heal itself more and more efficiently without causing the harm that pharma seems to cause to us almost across the board, why are we not exploring that? It would seem to me that the sensible thing a sane and healthy society would do would be to ask that question and to explore it from that perspective. Why are we not doing that? I will leave that to you to explore. And maybe someone listening, maybe you will be the one that will unlock some of these secrets to the next level for everybody else. That, I also believe, is quite possible. All right, you guys, you have a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow.